Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm going to be looking at the Tennessee Titans and giving 3 bold predictions for them in their upcoming 2021 season, post the Julio Jones trade. But before getting to that topic, question for those of you viewing, who do you think won the trade, the Falcons or the Titans? I'm sure if you're Titans fans, you're going to feel it's pretty obvious, but still, it can technically be up for debate. But getting straight into it, a first bold prediction might feel very bold, especially if you're a Titan fan. I know you're going to disagree with me, but I truly believe the Titans are still not a Super Bowl team, and I'll tell you why. Looking at the AFC, I feel like it'd be pretty assumed that in no particular order, the 4 best teams in the AFC, again in no order, the Browns, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills. And then at number 5, you could easily give it to the Titans, I feel like, and that's still up for debate. I feel like we still need to see the season start before we give them number 5. But at number 5, if you want to give it to the Titans, just comparing them to those 4 other teams, they have the worst defense easily amongst those 5 teams. That's already going to throw you in last place when playing those teams in the playoffs. When just looking at the matchup, looking at the quarterback matchup, you could argue that Ryan Tannehill is the worst quarterback amongst those 5. I think I'd put him at number 4 over Baker Mayfield, but still having the 4th best quarterback out of the 5 best teams in their own conference is not a confidence booster by any means. And then looking at the coaches, same exact thing. You could argue for him to be at number 5 and Mike Vrabel, but I'm probably put him at number 4. No, I'm taking Andy Reid over Mike Vrabel. I'm taking John Harbaugh. I'm taking Sean McDermott. And then you can make the argument between 4 and 5 and Kevin Stefanski and Mike Vrabel. And I understand the Kevin Stefanski argument because he just won Coach of the Year. So really you could, like I said, have the 5th best quarterback when looking at the 5 best teams, the 5th best head coach, and the 5th best defense when looking at the 5 teams, or 5th worst, however you want to word it. And that is not a team that is going to win. Yes, you might have the best wide receiver duo, and yes, you might have the best running back, but we've seen time and time again, Derrick Henry can only do so much in the playoffs. The year they went on the AFC Championship run, wildcard round he carried, divisional round he carried, AFC Championship when he was limited, the Titans were just blocked. They could not do anything through the air for the most part when it came to Derrick Henry being shut down. And then the following year in the wildcard round against the Baltimore Ravens, they did their thing. They limited Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson ran all over him, and they couldn't do anything in the passing game. And it's no, knock to Ryan Tannehill. That's what the Titans are. They run their offense. Their workhorse is Derrick Henry. What do you expect when you have the best running back in the league? You're going to run your offense through him. But I'm just saying, if that happens again in the playoffs, I can't count on Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill to outplay and outcoach those other 4 teams that have Baker and Kevin Stefanski. Again, you could argue that they're better than them, but roster-wise, I think the Browns have the better overall roster than the Titans. You're not going to outcoach and outplay Lamar and John Harbaugh. You're not going to outcoach and outplay Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, and you're definitely not going to outcoach and outplay Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So therefore, I think they're going to be a great team. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll give some of those teams a run. But there's a minuscule chance that they don't have to play at least 2 of those 4 teams in the playoffs, and I just don't see them beating 2 of those teams, no matter who they're playing. I think they're going to get beat in the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. Now, if Julio comes out in his prime, Julio puts up 1,500 yards, and A.J. Brown's right there with him with 1,500 yards, and Derrick Henry himself is still getting 1,500-plus yards rushing, then things might be changing. But I just think there's a few too many holes on defense. They're working on it. You have Jeffrey Simmons, you added Bud Dupree, you have Kevin Byard, you added Caleb Farley, Janoris Jenkins, but still there's a lot of holes outside of that. And again, if the offense can put up those numbers that are possible, things can change. But I think you're relying on Julio, who's getting up there in age, who has some injuries, and Derrick Henry, love to do, but I feel like you're putting too many eggs in one basket. And I'm sure they're going to produce. I think Derrick Henry's still going to have 1,400 yard plus. I think Julio Jones is still going to be in his prime to an extent, but I just think come playoff time when they play those teams that are on par with them or even better than them, I think they will get shut down, and therefore I don't think they're a serious Super Bowl team. Moving on to number 2 of this list is kind of contradicting what I just said because, it's positive and it's bullish versus the negative rant I just gave, but I do think there will be 2 1,000-yard receivers on this Titans team, and that might be an obvious bold take. That might not be bold at all in some people's opinions, but if you look at last year, there were only 3 teams to have 2 1,000-yard receivers. It was the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, the Seahawks with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and surprisingly enough, Teddy Bridgewater through to two 1,000-yard receivers with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. But this next year, one of those three teams, if it's three again, has to be Tennessee Titans. Julio Jones, yeah, like I said, he has his injuries. Possibly, he's been healthy pretty much most of his career. It's just his past year that he's been hurt. But if it's a continual path, he has some leeway to, cut back and miss a game or two. With this 17th game of the season, with a very organized offense, I think he's going to easily get 1,000 yards again. Even last year, he was somewhat pushing for it in the limited amount of games he played. A.J. Brown, he's only going to get better. He's only getting into his prime. Again, this might not be very bold to some, but with there only being three teams to pull it off last year, it's not great odds for any team to really do it, I guess, if only three teams do it a year. But I think this year, especially with the 17th game, there's no way this offense doesn't put up two 1,000-yard receivers between Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Of course, pending a Ryan Tannehill injury, a big injury to anyone, Julio, A.J. Brown, that would obviously change things. But I think if all goes well, 17 games, even if Julio needs a game off to work on his hamstring, work on his ankle, whatever is bothering him, even if he needs 3 games, I think in 14 games, Julio Jones could put up 1,000 yards. And I'm just kind of assuming A.J. Brown will at this point. But he hasn't had injuries. He's young. He's only getting stronger. He's only getting better. He's only getting more in his prime. And this offense is only clicking more. I think they're going to figure it out. And with Derrick Henry taking pressure off of them because now they can't press the box because the receiving core is just going to be too lethal and vice versa. You can't just stack the secondary with extra safeties, extra corners, extra linebacker, whatever you want to do, and then leave the front line open for Derrick Henry. So it's going to work both ways to the Titans' benefit, and I think they're easily going to get 2 1,000-yard receivers. Next up, in the last one that is kind of bold, the boldest of them all in my opinion, if the Titans don't make the AFC Championship, I think the Titans will consider moving off of Ryan Tannehill. And I understand that's bold because some believed Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback in the league. And I understand the argument. To me, he's probably not top 10. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad. I'd probably have him at either literally number 11 or number 12, somewhere around there. Top 10, he just doesn't break that threshold yet. To me, I think he's and he's really close. And like I said, I get the argument. To me, he's not there. But if you don't make the AFC Championship and everyone's healthy, assuming, you didn't lose Derrick Henry, you're not going to blame me for not making it there. But if everyone's healthy, offense and defense, and no huge injuries, and this team doesn't make the AFC Championship, you have to consider moving off of Derrick Henry, and I think they will because they have the pieces to make it work. Yes, their defense is weak, but still, and a lethal offense can at times make up for it. You have Julio Jones, a Pro Bowl receiver, A.J. Brown, a future Pro Bowl receiver, Derrick Henry, the best running back in the league, a stout old line, a well-rounded coach, and a top 10 quarterback. Something's not adding up for you to not make the AFC Championship with all those variables into account. And Ryan Tannehill, I think they will consider moving off him. And I'll tell you why. Is because look at Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a guy who, when he went to the Super Bowl with the Niners, there was an argument that he was a top 10 quarterback, yet he can't do it consistently enough. Yet everything has to be absolutely perfect for them to make it there. And they decided that's not enough. We're going to the next level and we're going to get a quarterback that can make up for some flaws, that can go toe-to-toe with the Patrick Mahomes, with the Tom Brady, with the Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff of the Rams, similar thing. He could get the job done sometimes, and he could get you pretty far sometimes. But when it comes to going to that next level, when you're facing the top quarterbacks in the league in your own division, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and then when you play the NFC in the Super Bowl, whoever it may be, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, etc., Ryan Tannehill, I don't like that matchup. And like I said, I'm not saying he can't do this. It's not impossible, but I'm just saying if they can't even get there, I think they need to get a quarterback change and go to that next level. Like I said, you've seen a top 10 quarterback, arguably like Jimmy G, get to the Super Bowl, yet that's still not enough. You need a quarterback matchup that can match up with anyone, be on par with anyone, and that is what we're seeing in the NFL. The Niners, that's not good enough. They went out there and got Trey Lance, a guy that's being compared to have as high as a ceiling as Trevor Lawrence, who's being compared to Andrew Luck. They want that next level. Look at the Rams. They retired a Jared Goff, a bottom 10 quarterback. We want a top 10 quarterback in Matt Stafford, who's more like top 8 in my opinion. And again, you're not going from Jared Goff, a top 10, to top 10 and someone else with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's already arguably a top 10 quarterback, but like I said, Jimmy G was arguably a top 10 quarterback in his Super Bowl run. So to me, I just think they will consider moving off him. Again, they're not going to trade him right away, but I think they're going to start exploring options as of our Super Bowl window is now. Julio's only going to be so young for so long. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, we can only afford this team for so long. I think they're going to make a possible move or consider or planning and start making a possible move like the Giants are right now. You look at the Giants right now, what did Trader Dave do during the draft? He acquired draft capital so that if Daniel Jones doesn't work out next year, he has the draft capital and the assets to make a move in the following year to get their franchise guy. I think we could just see the Titans possibly setting up that plan. I think they're going to invest in Tannehill for a while, 1 to 2 more years. I think they should, because we don't know exactly what Tannehill could do. He's very efficient and he's very productive. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm just saying he's not tier 1 like you want your NFL franchise to have. He's not your Mahomes, your Rodgers, or Deshaun Watson, your Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford. He's not in that category of lethal quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson as well. And therefore, I feel like they'll always be limited just to a small extent. So to me, if they can't get to the AFC Championship, they're just going to start exploring those options. Again, I'm not saying he's bad and they should just trade him away for, pennies on the dime, but I'm just saying I do think they will start planning on what is our options, like the Niners, how they made their next move to get the next best guy, like the Rams, how they got the guy that could get it done, big arm, big talent. Ryan Tannehill, he has talent, but I'm just saying he's not that tier 1 that could really win games for you on any given level against any given team. But I know Titans fans are going to completely disagree. Let me know what you think. Those are the 3 bold predictions. Again, they're not a Super Bowl contender yet. They'll have 2 1,000-yard receivers. And I think if they don't go to that next level in the playoffs, in the AFC Championship, and the Super Bowl, they will start planning to move off of Tannehill. But I'm going to make it clear, I'm not against the Titans. Julio Jones is literally my favorite player in the NFL. I hope they go on to win the Super Bowl as long as they're not playing the Bucs. That's my favorite team. The Bucs aren't in the Super Bowl. Kudos to the Titans. I'm rooting for them because, like I said, Julio's my favorite player. I want them to do good. These are just my predictions, what I think will and won't happen. But as always, guys, comment below, do you agree or disagree? And to the question of the day, who do you think won that trade, the Titans or the Falcons? To me, if Julio's healthy, it's easy. Titans win. If he's not, it's easy. The Falcons win. It's just all going to depend on a health factor for Julio Jones. But as always, guys, and of course, thank you for watching. 2-minute warning.